Unemployment, unemployment, unemployment. This is a situation that a lot of us have to deal with at some point in our lives. Be it because, you struggle to enter the workforce, or you are qualified but no one wants to employ you, or you are employed very well and then you lose your job. And then in other situations, we are in the pandemic age. Post the pandemic, a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people that have never experienced unemployment before are experiencing it for the first time. And we came together as African youths and say, we need to engage on this discussion of how does unemployment affect our lives? How does unemployment determine our future, determine our state of being, determine the way we feel? Many of us unemployed there are pressures that come because of unemployment. Family, peers, career guidance, relationships, financial stability, airtime and data that we struggle with because we are not unemployed. And today we are going to dive into this. And I'm joined with a great panel today. We've got Dr. Tafazwa with us, joining us all the way from Port Elizabeth. We've got Paul joining us from Port Elizabeth as well. Um, we have Mr. Garwe Ephraim joining us from Johannesburg. And last but not least, we have got Joe, Mr. Maganga, joining us from Melbourne, Australia. Thank you guys for joining. Have you experienced unemployment, and how was that experience for you, Joe?
Yeah, I'm sure everyone else has experienced unemployment at some point in life. So my experience was really hectic, if I should say. So when I graduated in 2012, in fact, when I finished my honors in 2012 in social work, I stayed for about 7 months in Johannesburg looking for a job. It was not easy. So I was really kind of staying with a friend, so I didn't really, care much about bills and all that. Was he was working, but he wasn't earning much to kind of support two people. So I actually want to share one funny story which happened when I was doing, my applications and all that. So there was a time where I applied for this job, but then they told me I can't apply, using my email, like send my CV through emails. I have to fax my email, my CV and my academic certificates. So the challenge was that I needed something like 25 rand, which is like $2, to just go to a, an internet cafe and send fax my CV through. But I didn't have that 25 rand. Now it sounds very funny because you'll be wondering how can someone not have 25 rand, you know, in this time of the world. So I was like, where do I get this? And this job was kind of not looking for someone with experience, not looking for someone with, it was just, for an entry level kind of job. And I had so high chances of getting it if I had actually sort of had that 25 rand. So I looked around, guys, can anyone give me 25 rand just to, fax my CV, fax my educational qualifications? But my friend didn't have. I knew that. So I phoned a few people. Airtime was an issue again. So I got some money, which wasn't enough to fax, but to buy airtime. So I bought this airtime. I called a few guys. No one could help. I was like, oh, now what do I do? Do I leave this opportunity to go? I didn't know where else I could get, a free service of faxing. So I didn't have quick thinking. I could have gone to a library. Probably they could have helped me, but I didn't have, that knowledge that you could utilize some resources, which is one of the challenges which most people face nowadays. Like they lack knowledge of the available resources which are free of service. So I ended up not being able to sort of send my documents there.
Wow.
Because
And
because of
and
25
from
rand.
and from what you're saying, there's an interesting point there of
Yeah.
living with a friend. Because I think that's something great to be at least able to have a friend who can live with you in those circumstances.
Yeah.
How was your experience, Ephraim?
Yeah, thanks. Look, man, what causes unemployment to be hectic is the pressure that is around you. You know, the pressure from family, the pressure from friends, the pressure from the community where you are living, the expectations that people have for you. We live in Africa where education is seen as a key to success. Education is seen to as a key to unlock jobs and all that. So when you graduate, people already have expectations that you must get a job. So when you don't get the job immediately, the family is looking at you, to save them, and you can't because you don't have a job. So it is quite frustrating for you and for the family as well. So when I graduated, I went back to my rural home. So I didn't have money to even get a newspaper, to look for jobs in a newspaper. I didn't have money to go on Facebook, to go on the internet to look for jobs, on the internet. I had to go to my brother in Harare and stay there, try to look for stuff, and I couldn't. It was really hard for me to even get the bus fare to go to Harare, and it was hectic. And if we talk about the issue of for friends, I'm glad that Stan is here. He's one of the friends that helped me to look for jobs in SA when I was in Zimbabwe. So he was able to connect me with other job opportunities whilst I was in Zim. He had access to internet, he had access to phones, which I didn't have. It's that point. So he came in very handy to assist me, to get in touch with possible employers. But the pressure was just too hectic because my other friends were already working, and you are thinking, oh my God, I'm left behind. So that pressure was just unbearable.
Yeah, I think the pressure and the peer pressure, is really a huge thing. Paul, your mic was muted. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm not really saying it's very funny because I think we all need a friend like you now who just hooks us up with who probably back in the day would have had a good use of a friend like you would just hook us up with an employment opportunity. But yes, I think from my personal experiences, I've seen that uh, we have those two major graduations. The first one is when you graduate from high school, and then when you graduate from varsity. They all bring, in our African context, different levels of expectation because it depends on the family you're coming from. When I finished high school, did my A levels and I'm done, and people are expecting you either going to varsity or you're going to get a job and work. And I remember two of my close people that I was with in school. One went to be a banker, and the other one was working. Actually, two of them went to be bankers. It was possible with the kind of course they had done at high school for them to jump into that. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, what am I going to do here? I ended up taking a temporary teaching job for almost 2 years. So for a person who's going to migrate to varsity, already as you finish high school, there's so much pressure for you to start making a little bit of money or maybe moving out. I think it also comes with different family backgrounds. I wasn't staying with my parents. So there's this thing that, okay, you're done with this and we've invested well enough in you. You can then be able to take care of yourself. Then comes the dreaded university one, which is very, I think by the time you graduate university, everyone expects your head to be organized. And personally for me, uh, I didn't land a job soon after varsity. It was not as easy as that. I took up side gigs, entrepreneurial gigs. I think I'll expand later into that. I was so fortunate that I didn't have to live with a friend, eh? And I don't know how that feels because I snore. I think I was going to be kicked out on the first night or second night. Yeah. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. I was saying, I think part of the interesting point you make there about the different phases and the different times in our lives where people feel that you have grown enough, you need to go and find an employment. We'll come into that more. But let's go to Tafazo.
Okay, thank you so much. For me, yeah, it was so difficult. You know, coming from South Africa, finish your first degree. I finished my honors degree. I went back home thinking that I'm gonna get a job, you know, in a twinkle of an eye as quickly as that. But it was not like that. And it forced me back to school again. I was thinking, okay, maybe let me just go and do my master's, probably, you know, to buy time or something like that. I came, I did my master's. When I finished, I actually finished in 1 year because I wanted to quickly finish and go back to the market and look for a job again. I go back home, yo, it was hectic. It was so hectic. Like the others were saying, airtime, you can't find anything. Even the internet there is not as reliable as, you know, some countries. It was so hectic. You start to look for people that you know that you think can actually, you know, help you to get something, even if it's temporary teaching. I tried all that. I remember at one point I was actually thinking of going to do temporary teaching at this school that was so far away from home at home, going to wake up around 4 a.m. for me to get there at least at 7 or something like that. I was so desperate. And you know, at least I think being a girl is actually better. The expectations are a bit less, I think, compared to my other, you know, panel, the other people in the panel here who are obviously male. But still, the little pressure was there, you know, everyone around you is expecting you to be employed because you are a master's graduate, you hold a master's degree. Everyone is just, even friends who pass by. Hello, are you here? I heard you're in South Africa. You know, it was the pressure, the stress, you know, it got me so depressed. And then I said, you know what? I think I should apply again for a PhD. So it was all the pressure that was pushing me, you know, just to further my education. Not because I really wanted, but you know, because I couldn't just stay and sit and wait for a job.
And that's actually an interesting
I
point.
think
You
if you
know,
really listen to us here talking here, Tafazo, we are spicing some of this stuff up because it's going to be live and it's on TV. So we can't really get into the nitty and the dirty stuff.
Yeah, I mean
I
the
think-
struggles are real, and
Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
you
Yeah.
you end up doing any kind of a job which is available just for you to just earn something to aid you, you know, throughout the time you are unemployed. So I remember myself when I was in South Africa, before I got my first job, I did some jobs. You know, if I tell you guys now, you actually be laughing. Like I remember, I remember wearing those yellow bibs, you know, with these flyers. One of those days, you know, giving people. It was sort of a real estate which was advertising houses. So I was that boy who was at gates, you know, giving people this flyer and just welcoming them in, like, you know. I didn't have much information on what's happening inside, so some would even ask me, what is happening inside? What do you expect? And I didn't have much of that information. Mine was just to give a flyer, welcome someone in, salute them, then show them the way. So,
Yeah. And I
so
think
the
I think
psychological effect of that.
yeah, and the interesting thing here is, you know, from all these experiences, I
Yeah.
think there are some of the major points that is coming up is the
Yeah.
pressure from the family and friends, the expectation of society to say, because some of us, when we go to school, the whole village pays for your school fees. So there is an idea and thinking of the
Yeah,
fact that
yeah.
now finally he's going to be working. But people make that conclusion without an understanding and realization that no, it's not as automatic as that. But then there's also another aspect that comes up here
Yeah.
of the issue of good friends. I saw, I think Nigel commented on Facebook talking about it means when you choose your friends, you need to choose your friends wisely in terms of the circles that you live in, so that even if you stay with
Yeah.
them, like Paul who snores, they won't mind your snoring. They will still be able to take it, until you get sorted. But Joe, you were coming to an interesting point of the psychological effects of unemployed, because I think there are people that go through this unemployment and it breaks them. Some people never recover. Some people
Yeah.
recover. Some people, like I saw
Yeah.
here, Dorcas was commenting on Facebook saying, I see why some people stay in school forever. And someone was also commenting on Facebook to say, so is it a bad thing if it motivates you to do things that under normal circumstances you wouldn't do? What would you say are some of the, psychologically how this affects you? Yeah, Joe, you were getting to that point.
Oh yeah, I was actually getting to that point. Let me elaborate more on that. To me, the psychological effect of that was that it actually destroyed my confidence to an extent that when I went for my first interview, I was so happy to just be called for an interview. Well, sometimes you just send out a CV. They don't even acknowledge that we have received your CV. Unfortunately, we don't have an opportunity for you, or you don't qualify. So when I first got my call to say, please come for an interview on such a day, I was so excited. But because my confidence was low, it was affected by me, staying at home for about 7 months without any sort of job prospects. So I went to this interview, no experience, which also kills your confidence. So I really couldn't really sort of sell myself to this panel to say yes, I'm the man for the job, because I had no confidence. I was psychologically affected that to an extent that I couldn't really sort of sell myself as much as I wanted this job, but I couldn't sort of sell myself. I struggled to answer simple questions like, why should we hire you? Because I didn't have that confidence to really tell them that I am the man for the job. So yeah.
I think that was because I'm here, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
If I can, if I can jump in there, when I was called for my first job, it was actually through Stan. When Stan confirmed to me that I had been hired, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe. I thought he was lying. Why? Because I came to a point where I thought I was not worthy. I came to a point where I thought maybe this job thing was not for me. It was really stressful to a point where I even lost my belief in myself. I didn't believe that I could eventually get a job. But fortunately, I had a pastor who was very supportive, when I was back in Zimbabwe. He understood, the war struggle. What he would do is that he would call me each and every day just to check on me. And one day he said to me, I understand the struggle that you are going through. So I'm actually worried about you. Why? Because you are a university graduate, and not you went to South Africa to study, and you're back. The whole village, the whole area is expecting you to be employed, but they continue to see you up and down, up and down, up and down. You have no job. So I understand the stress that you are facing. So he would call me almost every time just to check on me. So it's very important during that time to have people that understand what you're going through, to have people that are able to sort of be there for you and give you some words of comfort, and and just be there for you.
Joe, before we finish this point, the chats are going crazy. Did you get the job? That's the question. Did you get the job? You didn't know.
I mean, the answer is clear out there. I mean, I didn't. We were about 6 or 7 people. Most of them had 4 or 5 experiences. Will you talk before you get into the interview? Like, we are here for the interview. Yes, I'm here. Then they'll be like, so I have 4 years experience. And they'll be like, oh my goodness. I don't have zero. I had zero actually working experience besides my placement, which was just a 6 months kind of placement. And this job was different. It was a kind of a different job from my placement I had. So yeah, I didn't get the job.
Yeah, and as we go on, let's remember to mute the our mics pick up all sorts of noises from outside. So now there's an interesting point that has been made here by a few people. Especially let's maybe Doc, you can help us with this one because you started on that conversation. Where some people are saying this is maybe people continue studying at times because of unemployment. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Because others, I think Matthew was saying, we end up even having professors who are not passionate about teaching, but some people are also saying maybe along the way do you develop the passion or you develop the love for it. And what would you say about this issue of people continuing to study?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it can be true. We might end up getting people like what Matthew's comment there saying by default you end up just doing it. But normally, from my experience, the more you get to do these things, the more you feel like doing it with a passion. Like I wouldn't know if because I myself I liked lecturing, I liked teaching. I remember I used to be a tutor even from 2nd year or 3rd year thereabout, and even on my during my spare time I used to help other students. So I liked it generally. I'm not sure now what would happen if maybe you are just forced into it because of unemployment, of course. But I think it's a possibility. You might end up having someone who doesn't like what they are doing. But at the same time, I think it doesn't make the whole, maybe the course that person will end up teaching, it doesn't make it too bad because there are some measures also that are put in place at universities, at institutions to actually make sure that the deliverables of every lecturer is according to the expectations at the end of the day. So yeah, one way or the other, you'll be paneled back into tune to like it. I don't know. But for myself, I enjoyed doing it. So it was not by default at the end of the day.
And also let's not forget most of us are in professions that we don't want to be in anyway. And this gets us to the issue of career guidance, because do we feel or do we think that the issue of career guidance has a hand in this? Of course, today on the panel, most of us who are here, we've studied at a higher education level, but we're still discussing the issue of being unemployed. What role does career guidance have to do in this? Yeah, Ephraim.
My take is a bit different. What I think is that we sort of need to change the approach when we teach kids in school, because the problem we have is that the African educational system we have is that it prepares you to be an employee. We are educated to be employees. We go to school to be employees, which I think is wrong. I think it's really wrong to go to school to be employees. My thinking is we are going to deal with this thing only if we begin to go to school to be taught how to create work, to be taught on how to be employers rather than employees, because what it does is we go to school, we are educated, we are smart, and then we come back just to look for a job. What we don't know is that we actually have, we can actually come back from school and actually begin to to create work. However, I understand that it's not easy though to come back from school and easily be an employer and all that. But I think we need to change the mentality, the mindset. We sort of need to change the mindset. We have in Africa. Schools must begin to change the way we teach kids. We need to teach kids, to go back and be employers and create work. So it's really a system that needs to be changed.
Yeah, yeah. I remember myself, yeah, when I was choosing to, going to study further. I was, what I ended up studying, I didn't actually know what it was until my first day in the lecture. I said, so this is actually really what this is? My perceptions about it were not the same as when I got into the classroom and begin to understand it differently. Paul, you are one person that spoke about doing many side gigs. Take us through that process. What's the mindset, that you had to carry? What kind of gigs did you have to go into? And how has that even panned out for you until today?
Okay, thank you. Apart from the obvious that I'm looking shiny and glowing, which obviously this thing is working. There's been a lot of dark channels that came along with it. And actually, I just want to backtrack a little bit and say, for me, I think the psychological and physiological effects of unemployment are mostly centered around the family system. I've seen people who are coming from academic families don't struggle much because they can relate, the family can relate with the terrain that you are walking around, and they can quickly find ways of encouraging you to get around. And like Ephraim said, I had a support system, I think, after high school where we would be encouraged to go to church. The whole day, my pastor would be like, be at church until you get something to do. So it takes you away from the pressure of trying to do this and that. And probably people in the church also would see that you need something and you get hooked up one way or the other. But from a varsity level, I think, Stan, clearly, I think when I was doing my third year, we got that camera gig. I think you were in the SRC that time, and you got us a nice camera and we started taking pictures. I think a lot of us meet friends like you. And then we started taking pictures for the MW SRC. That was my first gig as a student. I think, no, that was my second gig. The first gig was I was selling textbooks. Buy textbooks, sell textbooks, and then came the photography, which I had zero experience. I remember you took me through a funny
but I think you're forgetting you at some point you were selling laptops as well. I think you did so many side gigs that yeah.
I had a salad dish, like I'll just pull out of the hat and push. Remember, we did fruit and veggies. We were actually selling fruit and veggies from a suitcase into your small Uno car, deliver it on campus, and then it's been like that. And I think that in a way was a little bit of a limp on my job searching, because from that point I really figured I don't want to go and work. That's the job I got after I tried side hustles. From then, I got a car. I started doing cabs. There's Uber now. I was my own Uber. So the first job I got was a teaching job at a private school. I went into the interview, and I still remember right now. The principal said, "Oh, so you're holding car keys? Do you have a car?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's parked outside." It changed the whole tone of the whole interview, and I got the job. I worked there, I think, for a year and a half, and then I left. I left because I felt like right now I can teach for free. I love teaching. It's a good profession, but I felt like I'm being boxed in again because I had that entrepreneurial spirit now where I would say I needed my freedom. Like for me, it was not working. I went back into the cab business, did another year. And then, you start getting that pressure. I remember so well people asking me, so is this what you went to school for, to be a cab driver? And you pick people that you were studying with at 12 p.m. They're coming from whatever partying they were doing. And they're like, oh, so this is what you're doing now. Psychologically, that tells you, no, I think I should do something better. I need a jacket and a tie. And then I got a gig as a financial advisor at Liberty, which lasted less than a year. And I just woke up one morning and said, I'm not going to work. This is it. And no one believed that I was quitting, but that was the last day I went to work. I just woke up on the other side of the bed. And I went back into my gig. By then, I had been doing the driving school as a side gig. And then I thought to myself, no, I'm going into this driving school full time. I have to get resources. And this is just one thing I want to say before, just quickly. We have to teach ourselves to raise capital, because getting capital to get into entrepreneurship and real business is not easy. So sometimes, even if you went to study, Ephraim said we go to study and our education system pushes us towards being employees. But I'm glad, because right now I am using the same techniques I could be using working for somebody else, working for myself. So it boils down to the attitude you carry through the hardships that you go through, to say, this has not really worked out for me, but I'm not going to allow this to make me think that a job, because right now I still have the same confidence. If you ask me to apply for a job, I can, and I'm sure I'll get the job, but I don't think I need it at this moment. I think I'm a way bit further ahead into creating my own space than I'll jump into something else, unless there is a really, really big check that comes with it, or if I'm going to with Kanye.
Yeah, and I want to marry the point that Ephraim was making, and the point that you are making, Paul, which is one of the things that I experienced, is that this issue of employment, part of the problem or part of the challenge is when young people go to you to study, especially further, starting from when people are doing matric already, or A level, or whichever you call it in your country, and going to higher education, there's a certain mindset that comes in and say, my life is now set, which is a lie. And as a result, one waits for a certain destination, which they are going to arrive at when that life starts moving. And when that doesn't happen, that's when the confidence level goes poof. Why I'm saying this, I want to give that example of what Paul was saying. We need to start training ourselves this entrepreneurship journey when we still have no one looking at us. I remember when we were doing our second year, like what Paul was saying, studying, and no, my future is going to be bright and everything. But through another brother who encouraged me to say, no, you can get a car and do this. We saved some money, bought a car, started operating a cab. Second year, I still had 3 more years to finish, 2 more years to finish. So through that process, we did the veg business that, nowadays people are doing all sorts of, we were with Owen the other time talking about fresh cut, fresh in a box, and other kind, like all this. We did that when we were students. We used to go and buy Green Millies. I can't remember what the name of that place was, and come and sell them. But we were not yet expected to be working. So that helps you to gear you and be ready for that time when it comes. When it comes, you don't easily regard yourself already as unemployed. And also, at the same time, you are kind of prepared to deal with that eventuality, so that you then don't struggle too much. We're not saying you won't struggle, but that mindset shift, and that speaks to also what Nigel was saying on Facebook, to say we need to do something. And I think parents need to do that. Even if your child is at high school, teach them to go and sell sweets in class, because they are building a mindset that they can employ and use later on in life. Teach them to say you can use your skills, in different ways, so that also a lot of us, because of this lack of career guidance, we get to your first job, you actually realize this is what I studied, but I don't think I really want to be doing this.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's crazy.
Stan.
Go ahead, different.
You are raising a very great point. You are raising a very great point because what we have is we have parents who push their children to go and study a profession which they don't like, merely because that profession it presents some good job opportunities. We know of lawyers, we know of scientists, we know of accountants, which were pushed into those jobs not because they wanted to, but because their parents thought that they could get good jobs there. The problem is that when you then come from university, you come with an entitlement kind of spirit. You feel entitled to get a job, which is a problem because now you are thinking now I must get a job, and when you don't get it, you are frustrated to the core, which is really a problem. So what we need to do, as you're saying, as parents, as communities, as the nations, we need to change the system and begin to nurture children in schools, in universities, to begin to use their minds to create stuff. Not only to go to school to come and get a job. We need to teach our children to be creative with their minds, to look for other things which can bring money. Those are the things that we need to begin to do. Unless we do that, we are always going to talk about unemployment forever, especially in Africa.
And I like the comment on Facebook by Ken. He says, "Great conversation. This is the convo we should be having versus those funny jokes on WhatsApp." And this is one of the realities. And how you see that, we're not saying we should always be serious, but someone said, if you go on a Facebook Live or on YouTube and you are teaching about jobs or motivation, about whatever, you see you have 10, 20 people, 50 people, 100 people, 200 people. Just say lockdown party. Because there people will be saying we don't have data. There's no data at all, It's like the students right now with this coronavirus being at home, people say, no, we don't have laptops, we don't have data to view. But let Dr. Malinga have a lockdown party. You see 50K views. And you ask yourself, these 50K views, what are you using to view this? So we are in that state where we get dumped into this unemployment issue and it just knocks you out. There was no preparation. There's no discussion. There's no, thinking about it and preparing yourself for it. So now let's maybe talk a bit more on opportunities, or, how one can make use of their time of being unemployed in a good way, or how they can use it to benefit themselves. And I know some spoke about going back to school and studying further. Some spoke about businesses. What things can one do? Doc, help us here. What things can one do during time of unemployment as you go through that journey?
Okay. I was gonna say, I think it will actually fit in the section that we're talking about now. I was gonna say, I think it's high time that we people who are educated at whatever level, we get a mentality of like what the others were saying, entrepreneurial mentality. Looking at the fact that thank God for this education, it opened my mind. But at the same time, be prepared to do anything, because money comes in whatever currency. It doesn't say this was from selling vegetables, this was from being a lawyer. It's just money at the end of the day. So I think we must appreciate that education has actually opened our mind and open up to whatever opportunity is there. Be it selling, be it what, you can also do it. And also another thing, with this virtual learning that is happening, you can actually make yourself useful if you are unemployed, you are sitting at home, you can actually make yourself useful by offering tutorials, online teaching, online tutoring. I've seen a lot of adverts in that line. So you can actually make your use of your skills to actually do online teaching or online, whatever you can do online, whatever you can offer online. But at the same time, selling is the way to go. Selling your skills, selling whatever goods. Actually, it doesn't need any experience. Actually, your level of education can actually help you because you will know how to talk to people. You've got maybe communication skills, you know. So I think it's high time that us as the learned people, we look at the situation. We see that okay, this is what is happening. I must be prepared to remove my gown and hustle like anyone else, because most of these jobs that we want to, they will ask for experience, and most of the time you don't have the experience. Either you have to vote to go to volunteer or whatever to get into the job. And with the way things are going, the economy is going that side, like the other side that we're not expecting it to go. It's going bad. Things are getting bad. Companies are retrenching and all that. So it's high time that we also get into we wear the jacket of entrepreneur and start doing things. I mean, most of these shops, I remember I was reading something about Coca-Cola. They started selling a few cups, and now look at it. So we start small. Even if you start doing something with like what Paul was saying, one car or even a hired one, maybe not even yours. As you continue, you get to be someone else. Yeah.
That factor is a very important one also to those that are employed, because like we were saying, that complacence of being comfortable with having a job has affected a lot of people. I know one of the guys who was commenting here, Ken, he has a very good job. He runs a landscaping business on the side. That issue of realizing that although I am employed today, even if it's your father's company, COVID has taught us to say you can just wake up tomorrow and the business have to close. Imagine how many businesses had to close, people that have been retrenched. Thousands and thousands of people across the world have been retrenched. And if you did not train yourself whilst you were employed to be able to survive out of employment, it means you find yourself falling into this pit. Yeah, Joe,
Yeah.
you seem to be wanting to jump in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add from what everyone else has been talking about. So I'll go back a little bit to career guidance, just to clarify my point on the opportunities. So career guidance doesn't really stop from varsity level downwards to high school. It actually goes all the way even to those who are employed. Like currently, we are all employed. Like if you are employed, you need career guidance also, because you need to further your development. You need to further whatever you are doing. You need to be able to do something which will sustain you and sustain your children. Even if you pass away, like today, you need to leave something for your children. So, which is one thing us Africans we struggle with. Like we live, what we call hand to mouth. We live on hand to mouth, which is a very wrong mentality. We need to be able to save for our children or even for our grandchildren, which is, I don't want to say the white people are actually superior, but there is one mentality which I really like about them. Like they save for their children, they work for their grandchildren. So when you grow up, you already know that there is a fund which was created by your grandfather, which will which will take you through your whole education, whether you want to get to a PhD level, you have that fund, which is there for you. And for you to work is just a bonus. But that's one thing which I want to emphasize on us, just to change the culture, to change that mentality that, I have to work and look after my parents. No, you have to work so that you look after your grandchildren.
Yeah.
Leave them something.
And that agrees with what Nigel was saying earlier, to say our generation need to do something so that our children will not go through, or our grandchildren will not go through the same experience. Your parting shot, we'll start with you, Ephraim, on making use of your time, All right, Ephraim's network then just dropped. He was sabotaged. But we'll start with you, Paul. Parting shot, what to do, how best can you handle this, and opportunities, that one can look into. Yeah, so if you forget to unmute yourself, usually we don't hear you. Go ahead.
I thought it's you had muted me. I'm having a technical issue with my stand here, so I was hoping you would unmute. But anyway, I think if you can't get a job as soon as you're done with school, go fishing. If you can't go fishing, go learn some golf. Somehow get out of the room. As long as you stay in that room, you're just affecting yourself psychologically. I just remembered quickly, I've trained my mind to block out negative thoughts. And when I spoke about my last employment, something just came back now. And I remember I was working at a financial securities company, and I was told clearly, I think 6 months into the job, that I'm not allowed to have a side business. It's a conflict of interest. And then I was given an opportunity to present my case. I went to see my supervisor, and he said, no, there's a time when you have to choose. And I think now that this whole situation is in the organization, you have to make that choice. And I woke up the following morning saying, I'm not going back to work. I am going to focus on this business. Even though right now it doesn't seem, and I didn't have that time, after a lot of things have happened, I didn't have a car. So I went to rent out a car. And the amount of money I was renting out was almost as close to the salary I was being paid. So I rented a car out with less profit for me. I was paying around 11 to 12,000. I was taking cars from the airport. So you can imagine how expensive that was for almost 8 months. And you are not making much, but you're trying to build a brand and the name and the reputation to build a business. So sometimes you have to before you make money, you have to learn to make a decision. Most people struggle in entrepreneurship because they are not sound in decision making. And you're not going to go far if you can't be sound on your decisions. Before you make money, make good decisions. Learn to make decisions, because whichever field you find yourself in, technology is taking out jobs, and more and more people are becoming irrelevant. No matter how good you are at that job, you can be replaced by a robot or a nice software. So you have to learn to make decisions. And just as a parting shot, I would say that trust God at the end of the day. You have to learn to venture into fields that you don't know of. If anyone knows me well, I don't like math. And as I was teaching one time, I was made to teach math, and I did it. And the kids were enjoying it because I had to go back into the textbook that I had thrown away and dig into math. And I taught math. So even if you're employed, be flexible to fit in a groove that you're supposed to fit in.
Wow, that is great. Of course, we won't ask if the kids were enjoying the maths, whether you were teaching the real maths or you were telling them stories about maths. Yes, Joe. your parting shot, yeah.
What I can say, maybe I would advise people to network, like as much as possible. Use all platforms. Like nowadays, it's very easy to network. That way, that is how we will learn new ideas. That is how we learn new things out there. That is when we know what is happening and what can we do better and what can we do differently from what we have been doing. Because it doesn't really solve anything repeating the same thing. Like working, and we are not getting anywhere. So you need to get out of the box, think outside the box, and try new things. As what Paul has been saying, think outside the box, do new things. No matter how challenging it can be or it can sound, just don't limit yourself. The sky is the limit.
Wow. Thank you. And Paul, I just want to jump back to you there quickly. You seem to have pressed a few buttons. How do you measure, a sound decision? How do you prepare yourself to make a sound decision? And someone is asking, what books do you read? Because you're talking about, reading books, different books and stuff like that. Quickly, 30 seconds.
Okay, my best read is the King James Version Bible. Very clean. It helps you focus more on what you can't do. And then I think the second question was
sound decisions. How do you make sound decisions, and how do you validate it as a sound decision?
Sound decisions mainly come from what we call instinct. We call it instinct in the general sense of the business world, but there's a scripture in Isaiah that says whether you're going to go to the right or the left, there is a small voice that I'll give to you that will say, "Ten, this is the way." I think it's Isaiah. So it also comes into your faith aspect. There has to be something that confirms something that you want to do, and when you put your hand onto something, no matter it's not working. I think we'll have this discussion another day, Stan. If you make a sound decision in marriage, if the marriage is not working, you stay married. If you make a sound decision in business, even if people don't see what you're struggling with in that business, you hold on to it and you make it beautiful.
Wow. Doc, your parting shot?
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say, nowadays, with the way things are changing, you need to keep yourself, make sure that you keep yourself updated. Even in your profession, things are moving more to digital. You also need to make sure that you are teaching yourself also to be able to use whatever is being used in that industry at that time. So I would say don't stop learning. Continue doing online courses just to make sure that you're updated in whatever field you are at that particular time. And also, I just wanted to say to those that are still unemployed, employers are looking for beyond what your academic record can actually provide or can show. They are looking at beyond that. So you need to be someone who is prepared to do some other things on the side before you can actually even go for interview. So that when you go there, you also have some other skills that you have gained other than just what is there on your academic record. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, that's great. Ephraim?
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to say that even if one is employed, you need to understand that a job cannot be able to provide for you. A job is not something that is able to take care of. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay.
A job is not something that you can rely on. Yeah.
It's
A
okay.
job
It's working
is
from
not something
home.
that
It's
you
working
should
from home.
rely
Yeah.
on because okay. So I was saying even if one gets employed, you need to understand that a job is not something that you should rely on. Why? Because a job cannot pay you enough to take care of every need that you have. So you need to teach yourself, as everybody was saying, you need to teach yourself to do other things that bring income, so that you're able to take care of yourself. Now, one of the most important things we need to learn that we are all blessed with talents. God blessed us with talents, and if we maximize those talents can actually pay us. When I learned that I could write, I wrote a book. uh, when I wrote my first book, in the first year of my book being out, I sold over 500 copies through approaching people. I would approach people with my book, and I sold over 500 copies in the first year of the book being out. And I can tell you, I was able to build a house back in the rural village where I'm from. The house is almost over now. I couldn't do that only with the job. I couldn't even save money with the the salary. I could not. But when I learned that I could write, I wrote a book and I sold the book, and the money I was selling from the book is the money I was using, to construct a house. So I couldn't do that using my paycheck. So we need to learn that we also have talents, and if we maximize those talents, we can actually live through those talents. So as much as we look for jobs, let's also maximize our talents. Let's build our talents, and those talents can even actually pay us as well.
Yeah. And Nigel is asking the name of the book. It's called Soaring to the Top. You can find it even on Amazon. That Ephraim wrote. What I would want also to share from my personal experiences is that over the past 8 years that I've been employed, one of the things I've realized is that the biggest changes or impacts onto our lives that we have gone through were because of things that we did on the side outside of our jobs. This is my personal experiences. Over that past 8 years, we have done, engaged in various businesses, property, education, and tutoring and selling stuff. Over that duration, those who, have been close to us would know most of the jumps that we have taken, the leaps that have happened into our lives, has been because of things that we did out of our jobs. So that is a very crucial and important thing, because you will find someone also who is in a job and that you say, I would want to be like this person, and you go into that profession. And when you're in the same job, you realize that your life is not the same. And at times it's because there is something that that person is doing out of that job that keeps them going and which actually makes them bloom the way you see it from outside. Second point, for me, I have worked in about 6 different companies over a short space of time. But out of all those jobs, only one did I get employed without knowing anyone who referred me to that job. So that is another very crucial thing about who do you put around you. Who, when we talk about networking, about creating real relationships with people, because what makes people think of you when they hear of a job opportunity is because of the way you relate to people. Character plays an important role. The nature of person you are when you're around other people. When people do something, how do you respond? How do you engage? How do you celebrate the successes of others? It determines whether people think of you or not when they get opportunities. So those are some just but important things. Of course, as we go on with this conversation of unemployment through the coming month, we will dive into detail of networking, detail of relationships, detail of what if you are not even, that educated, you only have a grade 7. We will dive into that because that becomes crucial. But today's conversation was about setting the tone and beginning this conversation of saying, how do we deal with this beast? Because it's there. It's not going to disappear. Go to a first world country, go to a third world country, even the country that you think, it's better for me to be in that country, you go there, you will find unemployment. Or you might be the unlucky one, the only one who won't be employed. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. Thank you for coming and availing your time. Tafadzwa, Paul, Ephraim, and Joe. Thank you so much. And to those who are following on social media, we will carry on with the conversation on social media in the comment section. But otherwise, have a great day and enjoy the week ahead and the weekend. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye. And guys,
Thank
don't
you.
log off yet.